Good morning from the National Weather Service in Pocatello, Idaho. I'm meteorologist Kevin Smith here again with another edition of your weather hazard briefing. This is for Wednesday, February 21st. 2 more days of slightly unsettled weather are on tap here for southeast Idaho. This period for a lot of places is actually going to be predominantly dry, even though I say it is kind of unsettled out there. We're going to see some fairly long dry periods, fairly low impact conditions for most folks, but still some light hit and miss rain and snow shower activity will be drifting across the region here for today. That'll continue for some areas, particularly east of I-15 into Thursday. Now, if you listened to our briefing yesterday morning, we kind of characterized this 2 to 3 day period here as pretty low impact with not a lot of organization to the precipitation, and that has definitely changed this morning. Late yesterday afternoon into the evening, the models kind of rallied around this idea of a more organized band of precipitation lifting north out of Utah into our southern highlands. That's exactly what we've seen develop overnight. And we're seeing actually snow, rain, and possibly even some freezing rain this morning out of this band of precipitation across the southern highlands into the Bear Lake area. So this is going to be the main thing we'll talk about here in just a moment, is impacts out of this particular band. Outside of that, still really hit and miss, really light, really low impact to this precipitation, but that's definitely a change kind of in the pattern here, particularly from what we briefed you yesterday. Now, what hasn't changed, we still have a break in the weather coming up for your Friday and Saturday. Confidence is looking pretty good on this. High pressure ridging building in, providing dry weather will shut down that shower activity, will warm up temperatures just a few degrees. Sunday might be part of that break for a third day for portions of the region for some of you, but we do have a big, sprawling, colder, wet, windy winter storm that unfortunately is on the way for early next week, and we may see some impacts from that starting to spread into southeast Idaho as early as Sunday night. So that break will be relatively short-lived. Looking at the weather risk outlook, here's your moderate impacts across portions of the South Hills into the Southeast Highlands with some snow, some rain, some freezing rain. We'll talk about this here in just a moment. Elsewhere, just a few of those light, low-impact rain and snow showers running around out there today. We'll see some patchy morning fog, possibly some patchy dense morning fog once again, just like we've seen the past couple mornings. That'll continue into Thursday as well, with our snow shower activity really limited, really across the southern and eastern highlands, particularly areas east of I-15 seeing the best chance for that. And we may see a few of those showers as well up towards Stanley and Salmon, portions of Lemhi County. Here's your break for Friday and Saturday. Really no weather concerns at this time. We'll watch for maybe some more patchy morning fog. We're in a pattern where it's hard to completely get away from that, but not expecting anything widespread. And by the time we get into Sunday, most of the day pretty quiet, but we are seeing some signs that some initial evening snow shower activity may start to move into the Central Mountain region, the Wood River Valley, possibly up into the Northeast Highlands, Island Park area as well, as we get toward dinner time or later on Sunday. And of course, we'll be refining that start time here as that event approaches. Quite a bit of wind possible with the system as well as you get into Monday and Tuesday. So that's another thing we'll be looking at here in the next few days as that system approaches. No watches, warnings, or advisories in effect this morning. We did issue what we call a special weather statement across portions of our southern highlands here. This is south of Burley, south of Pocatello, down into the Bear Lake region and the Utah border. This is not a formal watch, warning, or advisory. It's not an actual alert. It's just a weather statement, kind of highlighting that there is some hazardous travel potential out there for those of you who may be driving or commuting down across that region this morning. So you may see that special weather statement running around on some of the apps out there. But outside of that, winter weather advisory is still in effect for portions of Utah as you're heading south. Some of those higher elevation highways seeing some snow impacts, but relatively quiet across the rest of our forecast area here in southeast Idaho. Here's the current satellite loop, and here's a big batch of moisture, a big batch of cloud cover and water vapor lifting to the northeast, kind of covering a decent portion of our forecast area, but it's the southern fringes of this, again, down across the southern highlands and Bear Lake that are proving problematic for us this morning. And here's a look at that on the current radar loop. Quite the organized batch of precipitation here. This is not something the models were really keying in on well about 24 hours ago. They kind of converged on it last night as it was lifting through northern Utah. And really hard to determine precipitation types down here. Looking at some of our data, some of our models, the atmosphere is marginally favorable for perhaps some short-lived pockets of freezing rain and icing. particularly in the valleys here as you get down from maybe as far west as Oakley and Malta, but particularly down here toward Holbrook, Malad, Downey, down into Preston, the northern Cache Valley. As you get down into the bottoms of the valleys here, maybe seeing a little bit of freezing rain mixing in, which of course is quite hazardous to travel if we lay down just a little bit of ice accumulation with that. We're also seeing a mix of rain and snow. Temperatures are very marginal across this entire area, resulting in those mixed precipitation types. So we're not expecting this zone to move much over the course of the day. It's going to continue to kind of drift to the east-northeast and continue to target the same area, kind of along and south of a line from Oakley to about Rockland, to about Ingham, and then over toward Blackfoot Reservoir and points south to the Utah border, seeing the steadiest precipitation throughout the morning hours, and we'll start to trend that down as we get toward late morning and early afternoon, although may not completely shut down some rain and snow shower activity across this region until this evening. So this is the main concern. This is the main corridor where we're nervous about some slick road conditions and some travel impacts this morning. Treasurton Summit right now checking in with some decent snow coming down, some pretty good-sized flakes here on the webcam, and you can see there is accumulation on the highway there on Idaho 34. Here's Georgetown Summit seeing that snow as well, although road doesn't look quite snow-covered, at least as of the time of this webcam here. And again, really hard to pull out precipitation types, unfortunately. We're really reliant on ground observations and spotter reports. We look at what the weather stations are reporting into us. We look at the webcams and try to piece together exactly what precipitation types are falling in these particular valleys and along these particular highways. So just be prepared for potentially changing precipitation types if you're commuting or traveling across this region, and certainly be on the lookout for some slick road conditions and slow down, use caution, leave plenty of extra space between vehicles if you do run into anything that looks icy, and certainly snow-covered highways as well. Overall, not looking at a lot of new snow today. Down here across that corridor in the south, like I just mentioned, generally looking, it really depends on where you're located, whether you're seeing some rain mix in or not, but generally a light coating of snow to perhaps as much as 2 inches of snow possible, particularly as you get over here toward Malad and Downey and Preston. I know the map is kind of on the low end here, keying in on about an inch or so, but some places may see up to 2 inches of snow out of this as we go through the course of the morning. Emigration Summit seeing a little bit more, and certainly the higher elevations above pass level seeing some more significant snow accumulation. Mostly snow for your predominant precipitation type this morning as you get over into the Bear Lake area. Temperatures are just a bit colder here. I think there's less potential for freezing rain, a little bit better potential for that to mix in over toward Downey and Preston and Malad, but a little bit more of a snow bias here as we go over into the Bear Lake area. Another way to look at this accumulation potential is these new mountain cross-section graphics that we've been playing with, and this kind of gives you a decent idea of the flavor of what we're talking about. As you start over here on the left, this is along Idaho 36, moving from west to east, so from Preston to the 34-36 split and then up to Mink Creek. Like I said, a coating to as much as 2 inches of snow possible. This will vary a little bit by exact location. 3 to 5 inches, all snow, as temperatures are colder up over Emigration Summit. So a little bit higher accumulation and impact on the roadway there. And then a little bit colder down into the Bear Lake Valley. So places like Liberty, Ovid, Montpelier, generally 1 to 3, 2 to 3 inches of snow with less of a chance of freezing rain as you head over that direction. And I'll say this coating to 2 inch flavor over here toward Preston, very similar to what we're going to be seeing along I-15 near Malad, up toward Downey, possibly over toward Holbrook as well with this band of precipitation this morning. Low temperatures as you head out this morning, very marginal down south. We're seeing a lot of readings very close to 32, but you can see those colder conditions over here towards Soda Springs and Montpelier with some mid-20s, for your low temperatures as you head out, and 20s predominant across the rest of the region with colder readings up here, of course, in the Central Mountains. Places like Stanley and Copper Basin quite cold as they normally are this time of year. High temperatures this afternoon, pretty steady compared to what we've seen the past couple days. We're seeing lots of upper 30s. We're seeing some low to mid 40s, particularly coming in across the eastern Magic Valley into the Raft River region and then stretching into Pocatello and Idaho Falls. See some of those mid 40s moving in. May favor more rain shower activity versus snow shower activity this afternoon with any of that hit and miss precipitation running around. Here's Thursday on the left and Friday on the right. Not a big change in those high temperatures. Fairly stagnant pattern as far as warmer or colder air masses go. And then as we inch into Saturday and Sunday, again, we're in the middle of our break now. We're waiting on that next winter storm to arrive. And you can see maybe 50 degrees, maybe actually some mid-50s moving in here by Sunday afternoon across the eastern Magic Valley. 57 currently forecast for Twin Falls, 51 all the way over to American Falls and Pocatello. So just a little hint of spring coming into the picture there for this break between systems as we head into the weekend. Again, maybe some patchy dense fog out there this morning. We've certainly seen that in a few spots the last 2 mornings, including here a very dense fog, zero visibility at times the last 2 mornings here along Interstate 86 near the Pocatello Airport, just as an example. So please remember, if you do encounter fog, slow down, use your low beam headlights, leave plenty of extra distance between you and other vehicles, and just be prepared for rapid changes in visibility out there if you do encounter one of these pockets. That's what we're looking at here for the next few days. As always, feel free to reach out if you have questions, comments, or concerns, and have a great Wednesday.